Good afternoon, my friends. This is Paul, and today I'm going to be reviewing to the 11th and final Challenger Pack in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate's DLC. This one containing Sora from the Kingdom Hearts series. I don't have a whole lot of exposure with Kingdom Hearts. I have Melody of Memory on the Switch, but apart from that, pretty much everything is hearsay, mainly from Nintendo Power. Although, in the same announcement trailer that revealed Sora, they also said that the Kingdom Hearts games are coming to the Switch, so that'll be nice, because Dream Drop Distance is one of them, and that one has the World Ends With You characters in it, so that'll be exciting. Anyway, tangents aside, let's get the obvious out of the way. Even if you're a die-hard Kingdom Hearts fan, you probably already noticed from this footage that Sora is yet another anime sword wielder. Normally, I don't really have a problem with that. I'm one of the people that's actually okay with all the Fire Emblem characters in there, if you take into account that each of them brings their own classic mode route, then that kind of justifies it. However, when it's the final character in the DLC, and usually most DLC characters have really involved mechanics that requires a 45-minute demonstration from the director, this kind of feels a little bit underwhelming. Although, from what I've heard, this is also very faithful to how Sora operated in the original Kingdom Hearts, so maybe if I had played that game, I'd have more of an appreciation for his mechanics. He's very floaty, like, he acts like he's constantly in outer space, and he probably has the biggest jump in the game. I would imagine Shulk, when he has the jump Minato art, might beat him out, but this is him naturally. He just jumps really high, is very floaty, and when he's in the air, he can do an almost unlimited combo attack. So generally speaking, it's pretty good to be in the air, although if you hit opponents with the end of his Keyblade, it can cause some devastating damage. So try to have a mixture of staying distant and staying in the air, just not being up close and personal. For his neutral special, he cycles between 3 different magic spells: Firaga, Fundaga, and Blizzaga. And the names pretty much give it away. The fire spell is just him shooting giant fireballs, kind of like Mario's neutral special, but a lot bigger. Fundaga is shooting 3 thunderbolts, kind of like Pikachu's special, but you shoot 3 instead of just 1, and they go in front of Sora as opposed to jumping or hitting him from above, like Pikachu's does. And then Blizzaga is basically the Ice Climbers' down special, where Sora can freeze the opponents right in front of him. The spells cycle once you're finished using another spell, although you can kind of abuse Firaga, because you can keep shooting fireballs as long as you're hammering the special move button. I wish there was a way to do that with the other spells, because that would be super cool to spam them, but I guess this is the team's way of not making him too much like Hero, where it seemed like his command prompts were very randomly chosen. You get an icon above your character's profile that not only gives the name of the spell, but just in case you're playing with someone who uses a different language version of the game, it has a symbol of fire, ice, or thunder, so that even if you can't read the display, you can at least view the universal symbols for those elemental powers. His side special is kind of like Sephiroth's up special, where he dashes forward, but then you can dash in 2 other directions in whichever way you push the control stick. This kind of feels like Pikachu's up special as well, but a lot easier to control. I found it much easier to string together combos with this than I ever did with Pikachu or Sephiroth. Not only that, but it provided a nice alternate way of recovery if Sora's recovery move isn't good enough. Speaking of which, his recovery is basically a ripoff of Link's spin attack, where he twirls the Keyblade around, but unlike Link, he will always leap into the air even if he's on the ground. He won't just spin in place like Link does. And then finally, we have his down special, which is a counter. Unlike most counters, Sora can actually make the opponent dazed for a little bit if he counters an attack directly, but for projectiles, he more or less just brushes it off and lets the attack continue, but then won't take any damage from it. I didn't use this a whole lot because, I don't know, it just doesn't seem second nature to me to constantly counter my opponent's attacks. But I think the option is there because most sword fighters have to have a counter by default. It's like the 10 Commandments of Smash Brothers or something. And then for his final smash, it's, you guessed it, another cinematic final smash, where Sora locks the opponent inside a giant keyhole and then uses his Keyblade to seal them, which I would think would register an automatic KO if they have more than 100% damage or not. That didn't work for me, but then again, all of Sora's Spirit battles and Classic Mode battles are all stamina battles, so that's probably why I didn't get a big chance to test it out. It's nice and cool looking. I would have thought that Kingdom Hearts has a lot more flashier encounters, but it gets the job done, considering the fact that a Keyblade is a major part of Sora's arsenal. Now onto the Spirits and Classic Mode route. The Spirits are all based on the Kingdom Hearts original characters that were created for the franchise. So sadly, if you were looking for the Disney crossovers, and if you wanted to see how Mickey, Donald, and Goofy would have looked in a Kingdom Hearts world, you're out of luck, because the Disney references in this pack are pretty darn small. Now, obviously, not playing a Kingdom Hearts game, I don't really get a lot of the references, but I do appreciate that all of them are stamina battles, because one thing that's really cool about Sora is if he lands the finishing blow on a stamina battle, the screen turns white and you get a special sound effect to kind of amplify the moment, and it really makes you feel like you're actually playing a Kingdom Hearts game and you've just won a difficult battle. So I think that was a really cool touch. And I also think it's a neat touch to how Kingdom Hearts is kind of sorta an RPG from what I've heard. So it kind of preserves that element of whittling down the health, because in RPGs you don't usually try to knock people off the screen. I also really like how Sora himself appears in quite a few spirit battles, so you can get a chance to know what he would be like as an opponent. And he feels like he generally puts up a pretty good fight. Then for his Classic Mode route, it's called The Light That Seals the Darkness, and it kind of seems like a combination of Link's, Falco's, and Ike's Classic Mode routes, where you face against opponents that have dark coloring, but then you also face off against Sora at the very end, probably to represent Roxas in Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm not even going to try to figure out which game is which by now. That timeline is so confusing. I think it's supposed to be a reference to the Heartless, and I don't know, maybe the Heartless must be easy to defeat, hard to manage, because it seems like most of the battles they have low HP, but they're really aggressive in their attack patterns. For the final battle, you face off against Master Hand and Crazy Hand, which could be a very, very, very obscure reference to the fact that Mickey Mouse usually wears white gloves, and so they're trying to represent that. And it also plays Destati, which is one of my favorite Kingdom Hearts tunes. Speaking of tunes, there are 9 tunes that come with Sora's pack by default, but if you have save data for Melody of Memory on the Switch, you also get a bonus song, which is the Melody of Memory remix of Dearly Beloved. I had mixed feelings about these songs. On one hand, I think melodically speaking, they're really well done. They were done by Yoko Shimomura, who has quite the pedigree of being quite possibly the most prestigious female composer in the gaming industry, and one of the only ones for that matter. And a lot of these are fun to hum to, and I'm sure if I played the series, I would appreciate them more. But the problem is that there's not too many songs that are standout fantastic. There's Destati and Fragments of Sorrow, which are absolutely wonderful. But on the other hand, 8 of the 10 songs are from Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 Remix, and all of them are based on Kingdom Hearts 1. There's one song from Kingdom Hearts 1 that's kept in its original version, at least I think it is, because the soundtrack says Kingdom Hearts from Kingdom Hearts, as if you really need to be told that it's from the same game twice. And then, obviously, if you have the save data from from Melody of Memory, then you get the Melody of Memory. I'm tongue-twisted today. The Melody of Memory remix of another song from Kingdom Hearts 1. Like, was it really that hard to include songs from Kingdom Hearts 3? Or did maybe Square say, now wait a minute, don't have too many songs in this game. We want at least some sales of Melody of Memory. We don't want you to replace that for us. So maybe that's why most of the songs were MIDI arrangements and there weren't really orchestral versions, although D'Estate was still pretty cool, even if the later games made it a lot more pronounceable that they were actually saying that word in Latin, not just D'Estate, as though they didn't have teeth in. But maybe that was just the recording equipment. So, overall, I think Sora was pretty okay. I liked his music. I didn't think it was as spectacular as some of the stuff I heard in Melody of Memory, especially the stuff in Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance and Kingdom Hearts 3, but I think Kingdom Hearts fans will be relatively pleased as long as they don't expect to receive a whole lot of Disney fan service. I almost forgot to mention the stage. The stage that comes with the pack is called Hollow Bastion, and from what I've heard, it's an original location created for the Kingdom Hearts series because, as Sakurai worded it, trying to go with the central worlds in Kingdom Hearts would be inappropriate. So, it's one of those transforming stages where the background is constantly changing to show iconic moments in the Kingdom Hearts franchise. At one point, it switches to this Final Destination-esque monument where you see the various characters in stained glass in the background. Again, censored to make sure that Donald and Goofy don't appear in the background, which is kind of nice, even if I totally miss the symbolism here. Overall, I think Hollow Bastion is a neat stage. It's visually appealing, and it looks like what an HD Kingdom Hearts game would probably look like. However, I kind of wish that Sora was better as a character. As you can see in this footage, I'm pretty bad as him. Mainly just because he doesn't feel as fluid as the Fire Emblem Sword fighters. He doesn't feel very original by being a DLC fighter, and his combos take forever to get out of. Like, a lot of the other fighters, you can easily cancel out of their special moves, but Sora, because the nature of him being so floaty, it means that he's going to stay in the air for quite a while if you don't use a lot of his specials on the ground. But again, I think some of my distaste might come from not being a Kingdom Hearts fan, although I plan on being one in the future. So with that out of the way, I have finally finished reviewing every single Challenger pack in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Stay tuned, my friends, for a lot of really cool Smash Bros. Content coming in the future, as I plan on doing lots and lots of ranking videos. I plan on doing the top 100 songs. I even plan on making other videos that are themed off of other stuff that I'm going to be using Smash Bros. To demonstrate. So don't think that this is farewell. If anything, this is just getting started with my love of Smash. So thank you very much for watching. If I left out anything, and if you still have any comments, questions, concerns, or critiques, let me know in the comment section. And until the next time, keep the faith, stay epic, God bless, and enjoy hearing D'Estate. Bye.